So now we're continuing our adventure, learning about different types of functions for the different data scenarios that you're inevitably going to encounter. So when working with data in SQL, inevitably you're going to run into dates and working with date and datetime data. In particular, with Salesforce data, when you extract data out of Salesforce into your database, in this case Snowflake, the data is stored as UTC. Now, there could be scenarios where you actually need to convert the data to a local time zone in order to potentially match the data in your Salesforce instance. Because when you actually output data in Salesforce, let's say in a report, Salesforce is automatically converting the data into your local time zone. So let's go ahead and explore our first function together, where we're actually going to convert the date time from UTC to a local date and time format. So there's a function called convert time zone that we're going to explore together. So as we always do, let's start with our select statement. We'll say select star from lead. And what I'm going to do is create a comma and then convert time zone. And before I hit enter, we can look at the syntax and what we're going to fill into this function. So the first thing it wants is the source time zone, which is going to be UTC. Then we're going to give it a target time zone. And then finally, we need to tell it what field are we going to evaluate. In this case, we're going to use created date. So let's go ahead and fill this out. So the first thing we need is our source time zone. So I'm going to give it UTC. And then our target time zone is going to be America, Los Angeles. Now, clearly I don't keep this format in my memory. In the learning, and certainly on Snowflake documentation, they give you a link to find all of the time zone formats. So I wouldn't sweat or worry about too much getting or trying to memorize the time zones. Even when I'm recording this video, I'm copying from a notepad. And so the last thing we need is our field from our lead database. So in this case, we'll do create date. So now we'll name the field. We'll call it create date PST. Let's make sure we have our database selected. So now when we run this, if I scroll all the way over to the right, you'll see that my created date PST has been adjusted, and we'll take a look at this. So 11/27, if we scroll over to our original create date, so you can see 11/28 is actually 11/27. So you can see in this particular scenario, the date shift is substantial enough to actually change the date for which a record is created. So as you can imagine, if you're trying to count leads, this could actually influence your lead counts by one day. So something to be aware of and something to think of when you're creating analytics with Salesforce data is the fact that your dates are actually relative to UTC and not necessarily your local time zone when they're stored after they've been extracted out of Salesforce. So hopefully that gives you a quick foundation for translating your date times. We're going to go ahead and explore some other functions working with dates and date times.